Hey guys, as you can see from my smile, I've had a pretty stupid idea, or pretty good. Honestly, I don't know, and I have the hiccups, it's horrible. So the thing is, you know how I'm always like FDM puzzles are bad because, well, simply put, SLS puzzles are much better because they spin much better and the quality of SLS is much better. But the thing is, I have an FDM printer now, so I can do stuff. So the thing is, I've had an idea. It's the fact that you can't print SLS puzzles with an FDM printer because it has so many constraints. Like you have a build plate and the SLS, you can just put the parts in the air and they're gonna have powder as support. Sorry. And the thing is, what if we could print SLS files with an FDM printer? So this is the Filament double. It's gonna be the center of this experiment, and since this is SLS printed, all I need is the FDM printed version. So I'm gonna try 3 things in this video. First of all, I'm gonna try to print the parts regularly, so with one material, regular support, and then I'm gonna try to print the parts using my palette. Because I have a printer, but I also have a palette down there and my filament up there. So the thing is, I'm gonna do a multi-material print with PETG as the part material, and I'm gonna use SLA as support because these two materials don't mix. And then I'm gonna try doing something different, which is, actually no, I'm not gonna use SLA, I'm gonna use HIPS because it can be dissolved and I have delimiting at home. So I'm gonna print one using 2 materials and support. The other one I'm gonna do is slightly different. Instead of using support the regular way, I'm actually going to use PETG as the part and delimiting as the counterpart. So basically, every single PETG part is going to be inside the HIPS block. I'm going to explain that using SolidWorks right there. Okay, so as I said, there's going to be 3 versions. The first one is I'm going to print this flat on the surface, using this material as the part and the support, and I'm going to do this with PLA because, well, I said PETG earlier, but the thing is, PETG is something that bonds too well, so the support might bond with the parts, and that's going to make removing support very difficult. So I'm going to do this with PLA. And then the second version, it's going to be the same thing, except I'm going to use a support extruder, and this is going to be white, it's going to be HIPS. And there's going to be the black parts. So here I'm going to use the palette, so there's going to be a transition between black and white, and it's going to print with 2 materials. So the thing is, it's going to do the black part and the white support. But the problem with white support is that it's not very precise when it reaches the end of the support, so the black part might not be perfect on the surfaces that touch the support, which is why there's going to be a third version where I'm not only going to print this beauty right here, but I'm also going to print something around it, which is actually a block that contains everything but the parts. So it's basically like printing a solid block. But since it considers this as a part and not as support, it's going to try to make some very nice faces. And the thing is, it's going to print this block around the other parts. So if I try to hide it, you see that this is around this part, and they're both going to be printed together. So yeah, this is going to be pretty challenging, I think. And I'm going to try my best to make this this work out. So yeah, I'm just going to put them back one over the other, and then I'm ready to print all 3. So let's begin with this one. So it seems as though there's already a layer shift here, and this part is broken, or at least it wasn't printed properly. So I'm going to restart the whole print. This time I'm going to use 0.2 millimeters because I don't want to waste too much time. So while I'm reprinting this, let's see how much post-processing is involved. Okay, so it's been about 16 minutes. I've done 3 parts and I'm doing the 4th one. It's still not moving very fast and I still have all of this to do, and I have about 60 or 80 parts. I don't remember exactly, but it's gonna be a lot of work. So I'm not gonna do this on camera. I don't want to ruin my battery. So let's just teleport to when I'm done. Okay, so I'm about 2 hours in. The other light is aimed towards the printer because I'm printing the replacement parts, so the time lapse you are gonna see or saw is that. So I had to sacrifice a few pieces like these because they had that, that layer shift. Also, I have this much support and failed parts for this many successful parts, so that's quite problematic for me. For me, it doesn't seem like the best option to 3D print, an FDM puzzle, which is obvious when you see this. So for now, I have 2 centers. I have these parts right there, but again, the finishing is quite ugly, to be honest. I don't really like it. And I've already spent 2 hours doing just this, so I'm definitely not gonna make it better. I might put a layer of paint or something, I don't know, but like, for me it's not worth putting in so much effort to do the extra finishing, because taking up maybe like 10 hours of your time just for a small puzzle is just crazy. But yeah, it's still okay. I think it might actually work out quite well. Let's see, I'm having slight difficulties in inserting this, but I'm pretty sure it's gonna break in quite easily. Yeah, it's gonna be fine. Plus, this simplifies the assembly, considering there's a little bit of a tightness to it, but it's not much. It's just enough. So that's pretty cool. All right, so let's finish this and try to assemble that and see how it is. So clearly that second print went smoothly as hell. Plus, since I was missing the top parts, there's plenty of supports that are missing, which is a good thing. So now I just need to remove the material from this and it'll be over. But first, let's do the other prints, starting with hips support. Okay, that didn't work, so I'm gonna try with much denser support. So one of the parts detached itself, but it seems like it's still printing okay, I guess. So I'm gonna leave it be and see if it manages to do to print all the parts, or at least most of the parts. I actually had an idea since I printed this and it failed earlier. I actually super glued a part to replace the filament that broke off. So normally it should print properly now. So as you can see, this is clearly a mess. It just so happens that the print failed because my Bowden tube decided to be pushed out of this this sort of tube right there, and I don't know how this happened, but it's not supposed to. So I'm quite pissed. Anyways, I'm gonna try to start a new print without all the parts that were printed properly, and hopefully this will work this time. But this method seems to work quite well. So on the downside, the printer didn't really do its job completely, but most of the parts were already printed properly, especially in that area. So that's pretty cool. I had a small issue, and I think it's because this piece fell off and kind of ruined everything. The thing is, hips and PETG don't really blend well, so I'm gonna have to reprint a few parts. Hopefully this time it won't be as much of a mess as it is now. And I'm thinking the method where I actually print this as a full part will be much more stable. So yeah, let's just print the missing parts and try the third method. Finally a win. So yeah, I'm betting on this not being the best method. So I'm already seeing a bit of retraction on the first layers here. So the thing is, I hope it's still gonna print the parts inside the rest of the piece well, but it seems like hips is a very difficult material to print because this is a build-tack plate and it should work better than this. So I'm surprised, but I guess we'll see how it goes.
it's pretty cool to see the white outline of the pieces, and I think the quality is going to look really nice. And it's really impressive how it's printing this. It hasn't done any, like, it hasn't had any problems with the transitioning, so that's great. It's the only problem is that there was a lot of warping, and that's too bad. That's really too bad. And that's mostly due to the fact that I set the build plate to 90 degrees and not 115 degrees. Seem to be having focusing issues as always. But yeah, overall I think it's gonna work out. Even though there is warping, there's less warping where there are parts, so I think that those layers that split, they're being held in place by the PEG parts. So I think it's not gonna be a problem, and hopefully we're gonna see that in a few hours. So I'm gonna put my delimitine in there. So I've received it. It looks something like this. Now it's extremely dangerous. It seems to be, and it was packaged with a small chocolate, which I will definitely not eat because I do not trust this. No, anyways. So let me start with the first puzzle, which was this one, the first puzzle printed with hips. Thing is, I'm not even sure that the delimitine is useful, in the sense that here, hips is something that is really like not missable with PEG. So right now I'm removing support without any effort, but it does seem like it's going to be slightly more difficult to remove it on the sides. Actually, no, it's very, very easy. So I'm not even sure that soluble support is necessary, although I am having a little bit of difficulty with this surface. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to remove a little bit of that support and put all the parts in my bowl right there with the least amount of support possible. That way the solving of the hips is going to be more easy to do. Okay, so I've broken quite a few parts and I think I know why. The thing is, the hips filament for some reason was very darkened by the PEG, and what I think happened is that there was still some PEG left in the nozzle when this was printed, and therefore there was still some hips left in the nozzle when PEG was printed. So the layers, they don't hold well together at all. Like this part was just split in half when I pulled it out, and it was like there was no effort at all. Same for this one. I just split this one in half without applying any effort whatsoever. It was just like this, it just fell apart. And a lot of the layers happen like that. For example, this one here, where the flat face that's supposed to go here just got ripped out. So that's unfortunate. I feel like maybe hips and PEG aren't really meant to be printed together, because they're just the hips is just a material that fuses so badly with other materials. I mean, it is the point of the thing, but it's if it contaminates the other material, then it's not going to work. So what I'm going to do is I'm still going to keep what I made it successfully, what I pulled out successfully, and so it's in there. It's not much, but it's enough to make part of a puzzle, and I will complete the rest of the puzzle hopefully with what I got in this. So now I'm going to put this delimitine in there and try to dissolve the hips filament, and then I'll do it for my big cube right there. Well, not really a cube, but you know what I mean. This thing kind of smells like Cointreau. It's like a French orange alcohol that we have. It's really good, by the way. You know what I said about hips mixing with the PEG? Well, this is how solid your PEG is after hips. Yeah. Okay, so moment of truth, and I think I'm gonna be disappointed. Oh, whoa, okay, yes, I am disappointed. Okay, so first thing I notice is these big centers right there. They're already damaged because the black plastic was ripped off, and I think that's also part of the delimitine problem that I had. The hips problem that I had, where the hips is actually maybe contaminating the PEG. Now this is pretty fun. The material is really like slimy, so So it dissolves it really well. Also, I noticed that I've got some parts that look like this. So yeah, definitely the PETG was also dissolved, which is definitely a problem. And it means that there were parts of hips inside the PETG because it's completely turning to just like, yeah, it's even worse than before. It's just mushy now. So this is clearly not the right solution, not the way to go. I was hoping it would be way better, but yeah, it's not that great. The only parts that are not contaminated seem to be the ones, never mind, this one is also contaminated. Even without effort, it just crumbles. So yeah, I'm a bit disappointed with the results of these experiments because this is going to be useless, completely useless. So I guess, you know, printing SLS type puzzles with PETG doesn't seem like a really viable option at this point. A bit disappointed at that. I think I would need a dual extruder printer to do this, because here if you have contamination you just can't print properly, whereas with a dual extruder printer you would print without contamination. So that could solve the issue that I'm seeing right now. Even the core is just like so mushy, and yeah, it's just completely destroying itself. So yeah, the results with delimonene and PETG are quite disappointing, to be honest. I'm still gonna try to dissolve the other part, which is this one right here. Hopefully it might still work. Also, something I noticed, it would not really work as a viable option anyways, because when you remove the white layer, as you can see, just white and black here, the software didn't consider this to be a flat surface. It just built this with regular supports instead of building like a flat black surface. So the black parts right there, they don't really have an exit. So now I'm just gonna put delimonene inside, and hopefully it'll work. So first I need to remove all of that, and then we can try option number 2, even though I doubt that it'll work due to the nature of the material. It's so squishy. Okay, this one's probably gonna take hours because I need the vapors to fill in the whole block of hips. So I'm gonna leave this for a few hours and come back to it later. Okay, so I'm gonna take care of it now because it seems like my Tupperware is kind of melting as well, which is not something I expected. Oh wow, this material is soft as hell, look at that. So let's see if I can split this apart. It's so weird. It's a very strange feeling. I can just pull it apart like that. That is, it's sticking to the bottom as well. Look at that, oh wow. Look at the layers in there. They're completely disintegrating. It's even worse than before. This is just a mess. It's a complete and utter mess. So this method clearly doesn't work. Oh wow, okay. Yeah, I'm completely destroying everything right now. So disappointing. That was like 2 days of printing, and that's kind of what it looks like now. So yeah, that's a pretty cool puzzle, isn't it? Look at that. The PETG is completely disintegrating. I can pull wires out like that. Okay, so yeah, definitely not an option. Well, that's too bad. That is not what I expected. So I guess I'm gonna try one last one. I'm gonna try printing PETG with PLA supports. See if I, you know, reduce the time it takes to do the post-processing, because I know PLA works great as supports for the PETG. So I guess I'm gonna do a 4th one. Oh wow, look at that. Such a mess. Alright, let's just move on to something else. This is crazy. Okay, so this is worse than I expected. The parts keep on breaking because there's not much resistance on the Z-axis, like really no resistance at all. Everything is breaking off, and the thing is, I think it's also, just like before, contamination from the PLA inside the PETG. And also, there were so many failures in that print. For some reason, the palette decided to change color at the end and the beginning, which means at the beginning you can just pull apart those layers and it kind of sucks. So maybe, I don't know, maybe the print was not well done. Well, you see here there's like an alternating black and gray, which means there's alternating PETG and PLA, which is not what I wanted. So maybe I made a mistake in the parameters, so I'm gonna have to reprint this again. But to be honest, I'm quite disappointed at the moment with the palette, because the thing is that the slicer canvas is really giving me bad results. Even on single color prints, it's really not optimal. It would be great if Cura had a setting for the palette, but yeah, it's just not the case. So yeah, I'm gonna try this again, and hopefully this will work. I've been at it for about 2 weeks, so it's a lot of failures for just one video. Okay, so again, that was with the other part, the one that printed half properly. It just stopped at the middle because of a problem again. And it just turns out that even when I'm removing these parts, they just become so fragile. Like, it's crazy. The Z layers are just splitting apart so easily. Look at that. I just had a full layer here split apart, and it's just so easy to pull them apart, even though this is PETG, so it's supposed to hold nicely. And I think there's contamination between the filaments, because otherwise this shouldn't happen. So honestly, I feel like the palette can do multicolor models, but not well enough, because there's a lot of mixing, and I don't know, it just doesn't seem like this is a good alternative for multi-part models. It's more like multicolor single-part models, so a bit disappointed with all of that. It's just, I don't know, it's just so fragile. Like this, I don't even have to apply force, I can just pull it apart like that. It's quite disappointing. So, yeah, I guess the palette isn't really adapted for puzzles, so it's quite a big disappointment for me. I guess I'll just stick to printing random multicolor models, just that aren't Rubik's Cube related. So yeah, I'm only left with one model, and that's the one I printed with just regular PLA, and that one should be fine, I guess. So I tried the last layer as one should, so printing FDM with a layout for FDM, and for some reason, this is again canvas. I have stringing everywhere, and the whole thing actually holds together. That's just gonna take a few seconds to clean because I have a lighter, but yeah, it's just I'm getting a bit tired of canvas. But canvas is the only thing I can use if I want to use Octolapse. So I'm gonna need to learn how to use Octolapse with Cura, because this really can't go on. So yeah, I'm just gonna clean that up. I also had a small layer shift, so these 4 parts and these 3 have to be reprinted, but I'm not gonna time-lapse this, so I'm gonna do it with Cura properly. Okay, so here's my issue right now. I'm trying to assemble it, but there is one problem. It's that even though I increased the tolerances, I didn't increase them enough. So the assembly is proving to be extremely difficult in the sense that here the parts can't slide one over the other. And therefore, this puzzle is probably not going to turn at all. So I can't use this, and I can't use the other one. In any case, and the other one anyways is unusable, because even like the centers and the edges, I can't even assemble them together because it was printed with so crude detail that I can't assemble it. So I'm gonna have to redo this and redo this one and try with this. So this is the last time I'm gonna print it. For now, I'm pretty disappointed with FDM. All the variants I've tried were extremely difficult to make, or were basically failures. So yeah, I'm gonna retry this with better tolerances, and hopefully we'll get a result that's functional. and we'll be able to compare it to this one. So for now, as for the the SLS FDM printability of an SLS optimized file, that answers the question, because the thing is, the other one, the one that was printed SLS style, as I tried to show in this video, is just so imprecise that it's probably not a good idea to print it like this. The only real way to print it is to make it FDM printable, and in the end that kind of defeats the purpose of the video if we can't do anything SLS printable. So the point of this video was to see if we could print SLS puzzles with an FDM printer, or at least SLS files with an FDM printer. The answer is no, but I'm still gonna print one of those just to show you the result and what it looks like when you have this what did I call it again? I forgot it. How do I forget my own puzzle's name? Anyways, I just want to see how this feels like in FDM, so I'm just gonna print another one, and we'll see. Okay, so it seems like it's assembled, which is further than I thought I would go. So this is the only one I'm going to assemble, because I assembled the best of the two, and the second one is just, well, it's been just too much work for a single puzzle. I've been at it for 2 weeks, I just want to assemble one and get it over with. So this is what it looks like, and I'm going to try to turn it, but I think it's not going to turn that well, because it's quite complex on the inside. There's multiple shells, and I'm still not too familiar with shells and FDM puzzles at the same time. So yeah, it's definitely not good. I'll make multiple videos in the future. You'll see them quite soon, actually, with FDM puzzles going, from the 1x2x3 to the most complex possible with FDM, and I'll just go crescendo. But I think this pretty much answers the question I asked at the beginning of the video, which is, can we print SLS puzzles, or at least files optimized for SLS on an FDM printer? And the answer is basically no in this video, because, well, this isn't even printed like an SLS puzzle. It's the one that I didn't print like that, because it's the only one that seemed viable. And although it is viable per se, the quality is just not there. But you know what, let's at least, just for the heck of it, let's at least try and get a second turn on this, considering it's a shape-shifting puzzle. So let's at least try this. Oh, nice. Okay. So I guess it works. It's definitely not in the best way, but it works. This is, yeah. It's a functional puzzle. Now I'm just gonna compare it to the SLS puzzle, just so you can see why I prefer SLS to FDM. See, this is after 2 weeks of work, but let's say I only printed this version. It would have taken me about, I don't know, like maybe 2 extra hours of post-processing, plus getting the print ready and stuff, because I'm not subcontracting it. This, okay, granted it cost me much more, but it's much better quality. It spins really well, and it's there was no post-processing, considering I didn't do it. So I'm willing to put the price in if it's gonna make my life that much simpler, because full-time engineer plus YouTuber, it's just too much work to make puzzles like these, unless they're specifically for a video that took me 2 weeks to film and that made me late on pretty much everything. So yeah, that was a very long video. I hope you guys still enjoyed it. It's pretty cool to see this SLS puzzle printed in FDM, though. I kind of like the idea. Yeah, overall it's still a great experience to have tried to make this. I mean, it still turns, even though it doesn't turn that well. So yeah, thanks for following this video till the very end. For those who watched the full 30 minutes or something, I'm pretty glad that you did. I hope you enjoyed that. So thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video, which is going to be the first of the Puzzle A to Z series, where I'm going to show you how I create a puzzle from the first idea, the first design,
to the printing, sticker cutting, everything. I'm really gonna show everything. So stay tuned and I will see you guys in the next video.